Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode by the Data Factory. In today's episode, we will discuss what are constraints. See, they are nothing but predefined conditions that we apply on the columns within a table. And why do we do that? To ensure that we have only valid and consistent incoming entries within the table. Say, for example, we can apply a simple eligibility criterion for student enrollment into universities, right? Such that students above the age of 18 but less than 40 can register for courses that are being offered in the university, all right? Let's move on to the next slide. Let's discuss what are the types of constraints. First and foremost, we have the not null, second null, third unique, fourth primary key, fifth is the foreign, then we have check constraint, default and identity. Coming to the first one, that is not null. So these are columns where we do not want to allow nulls. Hence, it is a mandatory one. Okay. The second one is null. That means it is a nullable column, i.e., the value can be entered or cannot be. We don't have a problem with that. By default, columns are nullable. Okay. Now, coming to the third one, it is a unique key constraint, and that means we do not want duplicate values in this column. But remember, null is a valid value for this type of columns. The fourth one is the primary key. It's a combination of unique and not null, i.e., all the values has to be unique, but we do not allow a null as a value. Okay? It's a mandatory column. Mandatory plus unique, if that makes it more clear. Coming to the next one, that is our foreign key. It is used to link records across tables. Let's pick up an example wherein a university is offering courses to students and that are taught by staff, okay, teachers. Let's quickly move to just see the design, a simple visual representation of it. Here, the database is contained within our SQL server. We have three simple tables. Okay. One, to start with, we have to have a courses table. It's a base table. That is what the university offers. Okay. Next, we need the students table because students will come and opt for at least one course. Hence, the relationship is students being dependent on enrolling for at least one course. Now, let's come to the third table, that is the staff. And it's mandatory that a staff has to register to impart lessons on at least one of the courses listed. All these relationships for the staff to the course and the students to the course, the relationship is implemented via foreign key constraints. Let's move back to the previous slide. Perfect. Now, considering the foreign key constraint is clear, let's move on to the next one. It is check constraint. It is nothing but an application of conditions around what are the valid and acceptable values. Example, like we just discussed a few minutes earlier, the age for students enrolling into the university have to have a value that is ranging from 18 to 40. The next one is the default constraint. Now, it's not a constraint, but it's essentially what we are doing is we are applying a default value in case a value is not being inserted. Okay, so one is we are not making it mandatory, okay, but we are not comfortable with a null value over there. Now, say in a student form, we do not wish to make the date of joining field a mandatory one, okay, so that the student is able to sign up very quickly. Obviously, we give them the option of entering a value or choosing from the calendar, but say they don't enter. And also, we are not comfortable having a null value over there. So, what we do is we implement a get date function. So, by this, what we achieve is even if the student is not entering a date in that form, by default, we are storing the date or the day on which the student has submitted the form. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. It's the identity property. It's simply used to generate automated sequence of integer values. Here we can definitely customize the start and the increment. Some spelling error over there, but yeah, never mind. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, next. Cool. Few things very important to note before we move to the practical session. First, let's understand what is a candidate key. A candidate key can be any column or a combination of columns that can qualify as unique key in a table. Now there can be multiple candidate keys in one table. Each candidate key can qualify as primary key, but do not confuse with the fact that we can have only one primary key within a table. Okay, so essentially our unique key, right? It's a candidate key. Combination of or concatenation of values from few columns can be candidate key, and we can have multiple candidate keys. Okay, in fact, the primary key, that is also a unique key, right? By nature, it is also a candidate key. Okay, I hope it makes sense. Now, primary key, as we already discussed, a primary key is a column or a combination of columns that uniquely identifies a record. Only one candidate key can be a primary key, as we have already mentioned. One needs to be very, very careful in selecting the primary key, since an incorrect selection can adversely impact the database architecture and future normalization efforts. For a candidate key to qualify as a primary key, it should be non-null and unique. Of course, we know that. Lastly, a table can have any number of unique keys, foreign keys, candidate keys, but only one primary key. Just restating what we have already discussed. Perfect. Thanks for watching. Let's move on to our next episode where we do the practical applications. See ya, and thanks for watching.